Good evening, everyone. Sorry to interrupt, but we're here to stop this engagement party. Jason stood frozen at the sound, his smile fading as he turned to see a young boy with a buzz cut boldly declaring their intentions. Jason quickly stood and approached the three kids. Around him, whispers began to buzz. Hey kids, this party is for adults. You shouldn't be here and I don't want anything ruining this special day in my life, Jason said sternly, gripping the arm of the boy who had spoken. We're not leaving until we've had a word with you. Why don't you look at our faces? Maybe you'll get a clue why we're here, the curly-haired boy named Liam said firmly. Jason looked at the three boys, confused. He couldn't find any reason why they'd show up here, until the third child, the most serious-looking of the group, stepped forward. We just want you to know, all three of us are your children. You're our dad, said Conrad. Gasps echoed through the room. Jason's eyes widened, staring at Conrad with his long hair. Don't joke like that, kid. That's a serious accusation, he said, shaking his head. I know I haven't gotten anyone pregnant, especially not enough to have kids. We wouldn't dare come here just to mess around, Conrad said, waving an envelope in the air. We brought DNA test results to prove we're telling the truth. More murmurs spread as Jason's mouth dropped open. He was stunned. This couldn't be happening. Not today. Not at his engagement party. He returned to his seat, locking eyes with Susie, his fiancée, who looked furious. What now, Jason? She said with venom in her voice. You said it was only me, but those boys showed up at our engagement party. I'm humiliated. My dad walked out. I hate you, Jason. Sweetie, calm down. They're just trying to mess with us. I'll handle this. He started, but Susie cut him off. There's no engagement anymore. My dad's gone, the guests are leaving, and you embarrassed my whole family. We're done, she shouted before storming out of the venue. The guests followed, leaving only Jason and a few family members behind. Jason clenched his fist and punched the air in frustration. His perfect day had just fallen apart. The three boys stood nearby, calm and unbothered, as if they hadn't just ruined everything. Jason growled, Don't let those kids out of here. This isn't over. I'm going after Susie, Jason said and hurried out of the hotel, only to scratch his head in frustration when he couldn't find her. He tried calling her, but she had blocked his number. Back inside, his mother, Diane, was chatting with the boys, laughing with them. Jason approached with disbelief. He was heartbroken, and yet here was his mum, delighted to spend time with these cute boys. Okay, he admitted to himself. They were cute, a little too much like him when he was their age. Let me guess, he said bitterly. You paid them to crash the party, didn't you, Mom? You've never liked Susie. This is your way of getting rid of her. His mother's face hardened. Do you really think I'd do something like that to my own son? Number, I couldn't bear to hurt you that way. But Jason, be honest, Susie wasn't the only girl in your life. You're no saint. It's not impossible that you fathered a child. Or three. Jason blinked. Her words landed with weight. Could it be true? One day, you'll thank these boys, Diane continued, because they may have saved you from a world of pain. You just don't see it yet. You're too full of love for Susie, but time will reveal the truth. Jason sat, stunned. Could his mom know something about Susie that he didn't? What are you trying to say, Mom? He asked, confused. That's enough. We'll talk at home, his dad, Dennis, interjected. I'll take the boys with us. You just follow. Let's go, bro, said his sister Maya, placing a hand on his shoulder. Jason didn't respond. He didn't move until he felt small arms wrap around his waist. I'm sorry, Dad, said Conrad. We didn't mean to hurt you. We just wanted you to know we exist. Sorry, Daddy, we can't hide the truth forever, Liam added, and hugged him. I love you, Daddy, Liam whispered, Jason wanted to cry from the whirlwind of emotions. He had planned to build a family with Susie, but now fate had flipped the script. As he watched the boys walk out of the hotel, he couldn't help but wonder, who is their mother? Jason stayed at the hotel for a few more hours, trying to calm himself down, but he couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. He kept trying to call Susie, but her number was unreachable. The more he tried, the more depressed he felt. By the time he got to his parents' house, it was already 9 p.m. The house was so quiet that he assumed everyone had gone to sleep. But when he walked in, he saw Maya sitting in the living room. "Where are the boys?" he asked. "They went to bed, said they were sleepy," Maya replied. Jason sighed and dropped himself onto the couch. "You should have kept them up. We weren't done talking." "Come on, Jason, let them rest," Maya said gently. "Yeah, they caused a scene, but if what they're saying is true, then they did the right thing. Think about it. If you were in their place, wouldn't you want to meet your father?" Jason stayed silent. "If you knew he was engaged and you hadn't even been introduced, wouldn't you speak up?" she added. Jason rubbed his temples. "If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have tried to get married now. The timing was just wrong, and there are 3 of them. They didn't even wait until the party ended before dropping a bomb like that." "Did you see the DNA results they brought?" Jason asked. "Yes," Maya answered. "It was sealed, but it looked real, and it said positive. If you're unsure, you can verify which hospital it came from." "Thanks, Maya," Jason muttered. "Any idea who their mother could be?" she asked. Jason shook his head. "I don't remember. There were quite a few." Maya smirked and gave him a look. "Wow, you really were something, huh? No wonder there's a chance more will come forward." "Don't even joke about that," Jason grumbled. She laughed, seeing the annoyance on his face. He was already overwhelmed. He didn't need another surprise. After their talk, Jason said goodbye and left for his own house. But the truth was, he wasn't heading home. He was going to a bar to drink and forget. Meanwhile, across town, Shayna had just arrived home from a fashion show abroad. The house was unusually quiet, and she noticed there were no sounds at all. She wondered where her kids were. She sat on the living room couch, resting her tired body. She had brought home souvenirs for her triplets, but none of them came running to greet her. As she was resting, Lorna, the kids' nanny, came out from the kitchen. "Oh, you're back, ma'am," said Lorna. "Just got home. Where are the kids?" Shayna asked. "They didn't come home last night," Lorna replied with concern. "I tried calling you to inform you, but I couldn't reach you." Shayna's face fell. "My friend picked them up. She said they had somewhere to go, but they haven't returned since." "Do you know where they went?" Shayna asked. "Did they even go to school today?" "They went to school in the morning, but they left right after coming home," another elderly house helper said. "Oh my God, these kids are going to give me a headache," Shayna said. "Lorna, wait in the living room. If they don't come home tonight, file a report at the police station. I'll try calling my friend who picked them up. Maybe they're still with her." "Yes, ma'am," Lorna replied. Shayna went upstairs, but her mind was fixed on her children. They'd been stubborn from the start, and now they'd gone and disappeared without telling her. She entered her room, dropped her suitcase, undressed, and headed to the shower. Later, while wrapped in a towel, she grabbed her phone from her sling bag and checked for missed calls or messages. Her friend Debbie had sent her a video on Instagram. Debbie was probably the one who picked the kids up. But before she could watch it, Debbie called her. "Where are the kids?" Shayna asked immediately. "Girl, they begged me to take them somewhere," Debbie said. "They insisted I drop them off at a certain venue." "I'm about to call the police," Shayna said. "Lorna said they left and didn't return." "They went to Jason Benedict's engagement party," Debbie blurted out. "What?" Shayna gasped. Watch the video I sent you, Debbie said. Then react, but calm down first. At least they're safe. After the call ended, Shayna watched the video, and her jaw dropped at what she saw her triplets doing. Even though she wasn't there facing Jason Benedict, she could feel his anger and frustration through the screen. She knew he'd be searching for the kid's mother, and her gut told her all the blame would fall on her. Now she was worried. What if Jason had done something reckless out of anger? But no, he wouldn't hurt his own children, not knowingly. She had assumed things were fine since the kids never asked about their father, but now she saw they'd been quietly plotting something that could jeopardize her. They were definitely in trouble when they got home. Shayna quickly got dressed and left her room. Lorna wasn't in the living room, probably in the kitchen cooking. Before Shayna could sit down, the front door opened and the triplets walked in, completely unfazed as if nothing had happened. "Where have you three been?" Shayna asked sternly, eyes narrowed. The three exchanged looks, silently urging one another to speak. "We had a sleepover at a classmate's house, Mommy," said Luke, trying to act innocent and respectful. "You're too young to decide to sleep over somewhere without permission. And why didn't any of you tell me?" she asked. "Or are you hiding something from me?" "Mommy, what would we be hiding from you?" Liam replied with a kiss on her cheek and a respectful gesture. Conrad followed, raising both arms and hugging her tightly. "I missed you so much, Mommy. When did you get home?" Shayna groaned internally. The three of them were clearly in cahoots, hiding what really happened at Jason Benedict's engagement party. "I just got home and none of you were here," Shayna said. "Lorna told me you didn't come home last night. Don't you realize how dangerous the world is? Kids go missing all the time and never make it back home. Next time, don't ever leave without permission. Do you understand?" "Yes, Mommy, we're sorry. It won't happen again," Luke answered, his head bowed. The triplets didn't own tablets, iPads, or phones. Even though Shayna could afford them, she didn't want her kids addicted to gadgets while they were still in school. If Debbie hadn't sent her that video from Jason Benedict's engagement party, she wouldn't have known where her children had gone, and clearly they had no plans of telling her the truth. "You had no intention of telling me, did you?" Shayna said, staring at them. "You were going to keep everything a secret." "Well, you never planned to tell us who our dad is," Liam said quietly. "You've always kept that to yourself, so we took it upon ourselves to find him and introduce ourselves." "What you did was wrong, kids," Shayna replied as she sat on the sofa. "There's a right time for everything." "When exactly is the right time, Mommy?" Luke asked. "We don't think you ever planned to tell him we existed, not in this world where you both live." Shayna sighed. Her children were right. She'd never intended to tell Jason that he was their father. She had been too angry at him for leaving her without a word, for reasons she still didn't understand. She'd never really moved on. Maybe she had loved him too much, or maybe she wasn't enough for him. Either way, she couldn't forget what he did. But secrets don't stay buried forever, especially not with kids who acted like little detectives. And now there was no hiding anything. "Why do you care? I've provided for you. You have a good life with me. We have a beautiful home. We're financially stable. Isn't that enough?" Shayna asked with a pained tone. "We appreciate all your sacrifices, Mommy," Conrad said. "But every child needs a father. Some kids don't search for one because they never had the chance. But we have that chance. We want to know him. We want to proudly say he's our dad." Shayna gave a bitter smile. Her kids weren't acting like children anymore. They spoke with so much maturity, but the love and respect in their voices never wavered. What would happen when they grew up and started families of their own? It was painful to imagine being alone, but as their mother, she could support them. But what they did had placed their father in an embarrassing and awkward situation. They had ruined his special day. "You embarrassed your dad," Shayna said. "That was supposed to be his happy moment. His engagement. You should have waited until after the party. But we haven't seen him in 10 years, Mommy, Liam said. What did you expect us to do? We wanted to ruin that engagement because we didn't want him to marry someone else. Is it so wrong to be selfish, just this once? If he married her and had kids with someone else, we'd be completely forgotten, Conrad added, speaking like someone far older than his years. Shayna held her head. These kids were giving her a headache. But he hated us, Conrad continued sadly. He didn't feel any connection when he saw us. He didn't feel that fatherly instinct people talk about. Shayna's heart ached for her sons. She knew she was partly to blame. She had let her anger get in the way of telling Jason about the children, and part of her feared what would happen if Jason refused to accept them. We're not going to stop until he accepts us as his children, Conrad said. We know we surprised him with the truth. It's funny, really. We were the ones chasing after him. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Shouldn't parents be the ones seeking their kids, not the other way around? But that's okay. At least now he knows we exist. Hopefully he'll remember who he got pregnant and realize we're the result. Shayna quickly turned away, not wanting her children to see the tears forming in her eyes. They were still so young, but so full of hope. All this time, she thought they wouldn't yearn for a father's affection. She was wrong. They were just trying to be strong. Elsewhere, Jason had plans to meet up with his 3 closest friends, Freddie, Joel, and Adam, at a bar. He wanted their help in finding out who the mother of the triplets was. He couldn't get the incident out of his mind, especially since he still couldn't reach Susie. She had probably ended things for good. It was around 7 p.m. when Jason arrived at the bar, even before his friends. While waiting, he called his sister Maya to check if the kids were still at their parents' house, but he couldn't get through to her either. So, he called Miles instead. Jason clenched his fist when Miles told him that their mother had already sent the kids home. Jason had planned to keep them around until he found out who their mother was. He asked for a picture of the triplets to show his friends later. He was hoping, somehow, to find a way out of this mess and patch things up with Susie. His friends arrived soon after, all in the same car. "You only call us when your heart's broken, huh?" Freddie teased as they entered the bar. "Let him be, man. He's already hurting," Joel replied as they walked toward the farthest booth and sat down. Adam went up to the counter to order drinks. "We saw what happened. That must have been one hell of a shock," Freddie said. "If the kids are telling the truth, though, you're kind of lucky. 1 round, 3 kids," he added with a laugh. Jason sighed. "I'm not like those guys who get duped easily, and I don't see any resemblance between me and those kids." "Well, maybe they take after their mum," Adam said, placing a bucket of beers on the table. "So, how are things between you and your girlfriend? Still can't reach her?" "Who'd be okay with that kind of news?" Joel chimed in. "You're about to get married and then, bam, you find out your partner has kids with someone else. That's a hard pill to swallow." "If it were me," Freddie said, "I'd still accept her. Because I love her." "You need a strong woman, man. Someone who fights alongside you, especially if you're getting married," Joel added, shaking his head and opening a bottle. The engagement ended like someone poured cold water on everyone. Adam muttered. Nobody was ready for that. "Yeah, but you'll get through this," Freddie said, patting Jason on the shoulder. "There's no shortage of women out there." Jason chuckled faintly. "That's exactly what got me into trouble." "Women again," Joel said, smacking Freddie on the back of the head. Jason smiled faintly at his friends. "That's why I called you guys. I need help finding out who the kid's mother is." "Pass. I'm not a detective," Freddie replied. "Why not hire someone to do it? You've got the money." Jason winced. "Are you really my friend or just my drinking buddy?" "Of course we're friends," Freddie said. "Send me the kid's photo. If you don't want them, I'll take them. I like smart kids. Joel raised an eyebrow. Since when do you like kids? I like smart kids, Freddie grinned. And I was impressed they brought DNA test results with them. Did you even check those results? Adam asked. I haven't yet, but Maya said it was positive. She also checked which hospital it came from, Jason answered. I'm still going to do my own investigation. If it turns out they were lying, they'll have to answer to me, Jason added. Better be careful. There are plenty of fakes out there, Freddie said, drinking from his bottle. Still, considering how many women were linked to you, it's possible one of them is the mum, Adam pointed out. I don't know. I wasn't that careless. That's why I need you guys to help me clear this up so I can talk to my girlfriend again, Jason said. Fine, we'll help, they agreed. Thanks, guys, Jason said with a smile, and the four of them drank quietly together. The music wasn't too loud, so at least Jason's head wasn't pounding from the noise. The next day was Saturday, and Shayna didn't go to work. Her kids also had no school, so she stayed in her room, trying to listen for any signs of what the triplets were doing. But she heard nothing, not a sound, so she had no idea what they were up to. Maybe they were still asleep. She decided to keep an eye on them. With the housemaid Lorna gone for the weekend and back in her hometown, Shayna didn't want them sneaking out again. Then she heard a rustling noise and quickly got out of bed. She walked quietly to her bedroom door, cracked it open, and peeked outside. She grimaced when she saw her 3 kids creeping through the hallway in hoodies, shorts, and sandals. Where do you 3 think you're going? She asked, suddenly opening the door wide. The triplets froze, then tried to keep straight faces as they looked at her. Just going out shopping, Mummy, Conrad answered. Oh, really? She said, raising an eyebrow. Or are you planning to throw yourselves at your dad again? The 3 let out a collective sigh as they looked at her. And Debbie didn't mention anything about going shopping with you. So who exactly are you going with? She added. We're just visiting Grandpa Dennis and Grandma Diane, Liam replied cheerfully. Daddy's parents, Aunt Miles and Aunt Lindsay will be there too. They said we're welcome to visit any time. They've been really nice to us, Mummy, and they live in a different house. Liam grinned as he explained. It's kind of like courtship, Mummy. You win over the parents first, so they'll take your side, he added, making Shayna raise an eyebrow at his cheekiness. Don't talk about their grandparents like that, she scolded. Still, who was she to stop her children's happiness? This time, Shayna decided not to resist. She would support them and make sure to accompany them. Fine, wait for me. I'll take a quick shower and come with you, she said with a smile. The triplets looked at her, mouths agape. You're really coming with us? Conrad asked in disbelief. Of course not, she smirked. I'll just drop you off. I need to make sure the 3 of you are safe. And one more thing, don't you dare tell them I'm your mum. Let Jason Benedict figure that out for himself. She winked at them. The triplets grinned widely. Thanks, Mommy. Approved. They pulled her into a tight hug. Shayna went back to her room and jumped into the shower. She told the kids to wait in the living room. She wouldn't take long. They had plans to spend time out afterward, maybe eat outside. This was how they used to bond when the triplets were younger. But now that they were older and school kept them busy, they rarely went out. Maybe that's why the boys started seeking their father's presence, especially being boys. An hour later, they were in the car, heading toward the city. The boys were thrilled when Shayna said they'd stop at a gadget store first. She planned to buy each of them a phone so she could stay in touch with them when she was abroad for work. After purchasing the phones, she also bought 3 boxes of pizza and a box of cake to bring to the grandparents. Her relationship with Jason had only lasted a year and a half. She'd never gotten the chance to meet his family, and she still didn't understand why Jason never introduced her to them. Eventually, he left her without even saying goodbye. Soon, Shayna dropped the kids off safely and then drove home. That night, Jason woke up late due to his hangover. If he hadn't gotten thirsty, he wouldn't have woken up at all. As he stepped out of his room, he was surprised to hear love songs playing from a speaker downstairs. He hurried down the stairs, furrowing his brow when he saw one of the boys sweeping the living room floor. They were back again. "Why are they here?" Jason muttered, clearly annoyed, but when the boy looked up and gave him a sweet smile, Jason hesitated. Conrad ran toward him and wrapped his arms around Jason's waist before respectfully greeting him. Suddenly, Jason's thirst vanished. "Good evening, Daddy. Thanks for not being mad today. Aunt Lindsay and Aunt Miles came with us. Even my brothers are here. They're cooking dinner in the kitchen," Conrad said with a bright smile. "That doesn't mean everything's okay. I haven't forgotten what you did," Jason muttered. Still, he let Conrad hold his hand as they walked together to the kitchen. Jason felt something strange in his chest as soon as the two other boys saw him enter. They dropped what they were doing, ran to him, hugged him tightly, and greeted him respectfully. These kids were so well-mannered, clearly raised properly, but Jason couldn't help wincing at the memory of his ruined engagement party. His siblings, however, were smiling widely at the touching scene. Jason surrounded by the triplets. Despite his anger and frustration back then, he had to admit he'd missed them. It had almost been a week since they'd last seen each other. "What are you doing here? Don't you have homes of your own?" Jason grumbled as he pulled out a chair and sat down. He noticed one of the boys open the fridge, pull out a pitcher of water, and pour him a glass. "Drink some water, Daddy," Liam said with a huge grin. "Thanks, buddy," Jason replied, drinking the water gratefully. "We do have a house, but we were just visiting our grandparents," Luke said cheerfully. "But Aunt Miles invited us to have dinner here since you were alone." "Yeah, big bro," Miles added. "Mom and Dad went out. Lindsay and I didn't have plans tonight, so we figured, why not? And thank goodness the kids came over. They really brighten up the house." Jason sighed deeply. "Who brought them here?" he asked, looking toward the triplets as they helped Miles prepare dinner. "Their mom dropped them off, but she didn't want to come in," Lindsay answered. Jason, noticing that dinner wasn't ready yet, stepped out of the kitchen with his glass of water and sat down in the living room. Lindsay followed and took a seat on the couch beside him. "Have you figured out who their mum is? Did they ever mention a name? Why is she hiding? Why won't she show herself?" Jason asked her. "They won't say anything, bro," Lindsay said. "The kids won't tell. I don't think their mom wants to be known yet. It's like they want you to figure it out. Try getting closer to them. Maybe then they'll open up." Jason leaned back, frustrated. "I don't know what to do anymore. My engagement was ruined and now this. I'm so confused." "There's no rewind button, bro. You can't undo what happened," Lindsay said. "But maybe you and Susie just weren't meant to be. Honestly, I think you're meant for the triplets' mom. Think about it. She raised 3 brilliant, sweet, and loving kids. You should get closer to them and ask." Miles joined them. "I've noticed how naturally drawn you are to the boys. Any day now, I think you'll be ready to fully accept them." Jason stared into the distance. "When Dad first saw us, he was overjoyed. I think he'd feel the same about them," Miles added. Jason gave a small nod. If these boys really were his sons, then maybe the ruined engagement was worth it. Soon after, Miles and the triplets called them in for dinner. Jason, feeling hungry himself, decided to set aside his emotions and joined them. After a few minutes, they all quietly ate together. Jason noticed everyone, including the kids, were hungry. He was the first to finish eating. He stood up, brought his plate to the sink, and then hung around in the living room, watching television. Soon, Lindsay and the triplets followed him into the living room. They sat across from him on the sofa. Lindsay pulled out her phone and started fiddling with it. Jason rolled his eyes, realizing how comfortable the triplets already felt in his home. "Is the kitchen clean now? Please don't make me wash dishes," he said. "Yes, big bro," Miles replied. "We know you're too lazy to clean, especially now." Jason sighed again at his siblings' teasing. "All right, we're heading out," Lindsay said, as she stood up and headed toward the door. Jason stopped her. "What about these three?" he asked, pointing at the triplets. "You're in charge of them now," she said. "They said earlier they'll stay here for the night. Maybe they'll go home tomorrow. Be good to them, okay? Maybe they'll finally tell you who their mom is." With that, Lindsay and Miles left. Jason could only sigh in resignation. Once they were gone, he turned to the boys. "So, are you three planning to stay here forever?" "We're just sleeping over tonight, Daddy," Luke said. "Really? Won't your mom be looking for you?" Jason asked. "She might get worried." "She already knows we're here," Liam replied casually. "Okay, then give me her number. I'll call her to talk," Jason said. "No need, Daddy. It's really okay," Conrad answered. Jason shook his head. He wasn't going to get any information from these boys. It was as if they were on a mission to make things as hard as possible for him. He stood up and went upstairs to his room. After a quick shower and change of clothes, he grabbed his drawer key and came back down. He told the triplets he'd be stepping out for a while. He planned to buy them some pajamas since it was getting cold. While driving, he found himself thinking about Susie again. What was she doing now? He still couldn't reach her, and no matter how hard he tried not to, he also kept thinking about the triplets' mother. Just yesterday, he checked his social media account. Susie had blocked him. That pretty much confirmed she wanted nothing to do with him anymore. As he drove past a carnival, he noticed all the rides, booths, food stands, and games. The place was packed. An idea popped into his mind. He would take the kids there later after buying them clothes. At the mall, he let the boys choose their own pajamas. He paid for the clothes, and they returned to the car. The boys begged for ice cream, so he gave in. He realized there was no point in always being angry. What had happened already happened. Nothing could change it now. They drove around until evening. Finally, he brought up the idea of stopping by the carnival. The first ride the triplets requested was the Ferris wheel. Jason wasn't a fan of such rides. He started shaking his head slowly, uncomfortable with the idea. But the boys insisted, and he eventually agreed to go with them. After getting off the ride, Jason felt dizzy. The triplets noticed right away and didn't push for more rides. Instead, they grabbed some carnival snacks and focused on eating. The next day was Monday. Shayna didn't go to work. She was waiting for her triplets to come home so she could finally breathe easy. She had already prepared their school uniforms and packed their lunches. A few minutes later, she heard a vehicle pull up in front of their house. "Lorna, can you check if it's the boys?" Shayna called out. "Yes, Mom," Lorna answered with a smile as she stepped out of the kitchen. Soon, Shayna heard laughter coming from the kitchen. Her boys had returned. "Hi, kids. Looks like you had fun." Shayna greeted them warmly, noticing the joy on their faces. "Yes, Mommy. Daddy was really kind to us. He even took us out to the carnival last night and rode the Ferris wheel with us," Conrad said excitedly. Shayna's eyes widened. "Wait, I've never even tried riding that thing in my whole life, and you three just went up there like it was nothing?" "Yes, Mommy, it was really fun. It felt like we were on top of the world," Luke added, grinning. "Daddy rode with us," Liam chimed in, "but he's afraid of heights, so we felt bad for him. That's why we didn't ask to ride again. We just ate snacks afterward." Shayna chuckled, imagining Jason's face during that ride. But then she paused, reminding herself not to soften toward him. She was still angry. "All right, go shower. You need to get to school," she said. "By the way, Who dropped you off? Aunt Lindsay did, Conrad replied. She was in a rush, so you didn't get to meet her. Shayna nodded and instructed Lorna to help the kids get ready. She would drive them to school herself before heading to work. Their school was far, so Lorna needed to stay nearby for safety, even though the triplets were already 10. Shayna stood up to shower and prepare for the day. A month passed quickly. Meanwhile, Jason waited for updates from his friends. Then one day his phone rang. It was Joel. They arranged to meet up and talk about what Joel had discovered. Jason was the last to arrive, and Joel was clearly annoyed. I thought this was important to you. Why are you so late? Adam asked. No surprise that you're the first to nag, Jason thought to himself, smirking. I've been busy, Jason said aloud. Don't forget, you asked us to do this, and it's not like our help comes free. We became detectives for you. That's not easy. We could have been accused of stalking, Joel said seriously. Exactly, Freddie added. This wasn't a game. Jason sighed, knowing they were right. Finding someone who didn't want to be found was hard. Shayna had made sure of that. Even when he tried to follow the boys, he never got a clear lead. Joel began explaining. So, the other day, I dropped off my nephews at school. While waiting, I saw your triplets with a woman. I asked around, but the guard said she was just a nanny. Later, I picked up my nephews again and saw a different woman pick up your kids. She stepped out of the car and walked toward them. I was near the guard again, and he whispered that she was their mother. Did she look familiar? Was she one of my exes? Jason asked. Nope, I've known you for 3 years, and I don't recognize her. But who knows, maybe she was from before we met. Honestly, she looks more compatible with me, Joel joked. The group burst into laughter, except Jason, who stayed serious. I'm not joking, Jason muttered. Okay, fine, I know you're serious, Joel said. But I didn't want you going home with your mind spinning, so I took a picture of her, pretending to photograph my nephews. Joel handed Jason his phone. As soon as Jason saw the photo, it felt like the world stopped. Shayna. The mother of the triplets was Shayna, the woman he had last been with 10 years ago, the one he had walked out on. His mind began to race. Maybe what the triplets said was true. Maybe they really were his kids. Jason knew what he had to do now, talk to Shayna and confirm everything. But deep down, he felt scared, because he knew he was the one who had wronged her. Dude, you okay? That's your ex, right? Freddie asked, noticing Jason's reaction. Jason slowly nodded and leaned back on the couch, stunned. So those kids really are yours, Adam said. You can't run from this anymore. Jason's mind was racing. He needed to talk to Shayna. But how? He wasn't even sure if he had the courage to face her, knowing he'd hurt her so deeply. You should focus on the kids now, Joel said. Accept them into your life. I know it's hard, but you'll get through this. Women come and go, but kids, they're a one-time gift. Don't ignore that. Jason sat in silence. Deep down, he knew Joel was right. The triplets were worth it. And the guilt he'd carried for years suddenly started to mix with something else. Hope. He thanked his friends, then decided to leave early. He wanted to be home when the boys visited. When he arrived at his house, he didn't head straight inside. Instead, he sat on the concrete bench outside the gate and waited. But night came and no one showed up. Frustrated, he tried calling his sister Lindsay to ask for the kid's address, but she wasn't answering either. He sent her a message, and she replied eventually. Jason took a quick shower, got dressed, and drove straight to Shayna's neighborhood. It was already 9 p.m. by the time he arrived. The whole area was quiet. He stepped out of his car, careful not to look suspicious. Just then, the gate opened. Shayna stepped out. Jason's heart jumped. It was the first time he'd seen her in years. Her eyes widened in shock when she saw him, but the surprise quickly turned to anger. "Hi, Shayna. Good evening." Jason greeted her with a nervous smile. "There's nothing good about this evening, Jason, especially not after seeing you," she snapped. "What are you doing here? If you're here for the kids, they're already asleep." That was the Shayna he remembered, sharp and fierce. Instead of being offended, Jason found himself smiling slightly. A part of him had missed her. "I came for you. I can let go of the whole party incident. But please, Shayna, I want to hear the truth from you," he said earnestly. "I have nothing to say to you. If those kids mean anything to you, then get a DNA test. You've got the money, don't you?" she retorted. "I'm sorry, Shayna. I know I made a mistake, but can we forget what happened and move on? Just tell me the truth," Jason pleaded. "Your apology doesn't change anything. Go before I call security," Shayna said coldly. Jason sighed, head lowered, and walked back to his car. Shayna hurried upstairs to the veranda and looked down, watching his car drive away. Her heart had nearly jumped out of her chest when she saw him. After all these years, he hadn't changed, still ridiculously handsome. But she couldn't let herself fall again, not when she had done nothing wrong and loved him so completely before he left her. She didn't deserve that. No, she reminded herself. Jason didn't deserve her kindness. Not yet. 3 months passed. Jason had gone back and forth, visiting Shayna's house, hoping she'd talk to him, but she continued to shut him out. It was clear she wasn't going to make things easy. At one point, Jason realized he might never get a direct answer from her, so he finally followed her earlier advice. He took the triplets for a DNA test and accompanied them himself. When the results came in, it confirmed what he had already suspected in his heart. They were his children. That day, Jason felt a shift. As they left the clinic together, for the first time, he saw them not just as 3 random kids, but as his sons, a real family. Shayna had joined them for the test. Watching how happy the boys were to be together with both parents made something inside her soften. Slowly, she began to treat Jason with a little less distance. Jason, for his part, used the next few months to make up for lost time. He spent every chance he could bonding with the triplets, taking them out, helping with homework, picking them up from school, and when possible, he tried to make Shayna smile, even if it was just once. He knew it wouldn't be easy to win her back, but it didn't stop him from trying. Eventually, his efforts began to show. Shayna started allowing him around more often. The coldness in her voice faded, little by little. The walls were slowly crumbling. Jason realized the most important thing he could do now was apologize to Susie. He had to give her closure, and most importantly, he had to be honest with himself. He was ready to move on, ready to commit to Shayna and the 3 kids who gave him a second chance at being a father. He couldn't deny it anymore. Despite everything he had done, Shayna had chosen to keep their children, raise them well, and shield them from the truth until the time was right. For that alone, Jason owed her everything. He saw the life they could have, one filled with laughter, challenges, warmth, and purpose, and he was ready to step up. Jason had just arrived to pick up his sons. He parked his car a little distance away from the school gate and stepped out, wanting them to see him right away. Moments later, he spotted the triplets walking out of the school gates, looking around as if searching for someone. He waved at them. "Hi, Daddy. I thought you weren't going to pick us up today," Luke said, greeting him with a respectful gesture and hugging his waist. Jason smiled at Luke and then at Lorna, who was also waiting. She quickly signaled someone to load the boys' bags into the car. "My love for you 3 will always be consistent," Jason said. "That's why I'm always trying to make up for lost time." "Thanks, Daddy. So, where are we going today? Are we heading out again?" I hope Mommy's coming with us, Liam asked as he greeted him. Conrad followed and kissed him on the cheek, the youngest and the sweetest of the three. If you don't have any assignments or projects, we'll go out, Jason replied. No assignments, Daddy. Let's go somewhere, with Mommy this time. Conrad beamed. All right, into the car. Let's head home first so you can change and then we'll go pick up your mom, Jason said. The boys cheered and they all piled into the car. When they arrived at home, Shayna was already at the door, welcoming her children with a warm smile. After about 5 minutes, they all left again, with Shayna joining them this time. Did you even tell your mom you're going out again? What if she gets mad that I keep taking you out? Jason asked. It's okay with Mommy, right? Conrad said, looking at his mom. Shayna raised a brow, surprised by the turn of conversation. Well, fine, I'll come along. The boys sat in the back, while Shayna took the passenger seat beside Jason. From the back, they could hear the boys giggling. Shayna shook her head. The triplets had been begging her non-stop to give their dad another chance. But if Jason wanted that, he'd have to prove himself. He had to show that he was serious, and that his promises weren't just words. So, how are you? Jason asked to break the silence. I'm all right, Shayna replied. Mommy's okay, Daddy. Luke jumped in. Someday she'll be more than okay with you again. That's right, Liam agreed. Daddy, you left her back then. Of course she's angry. You have to win her back. That's right, Conrad added. You have a lot of making up to do. Jason widened his eyes at his son's boldness. He was already trying, wasn't he? Now he just had to wait and hope for Shayna's heart to soften. Wait a minute. How do you even know all this? Jason asked, turning to Conrad. There are only 3 reasons why couples break up. Cheating, abandonment, or falling out of love. Could be a bad breakup or a good one. Conrad answered like a grown man. Both Shayna and Jason couldn't help but laugh softly. They glanced at each other for a brief moment that felt like it stretched into slow motion, then quickly looked away again. Kids, you're too young to be talking about these things. You should be enjoying life, not worrying about relationships, Shayna said. Sorry, Mommy, we're just really excited to see you two get back together, Conrad said. Daddy still has to try harder to win you over. Shayna turned to him, noting how serious his expression was. But before she could say anything, Luke chimed in. Mommy, are you still mad at Daddy because you haven't moved on yet? What are you saying? Shayna stammered. She caught a glimpse of Jason trying to hide a smile, his face already turning red with amusement. Let's stop talking about that and just focus on where we're going, Shayna said sternly, trying to steer the conversation away. But Conrad didn't stop. Well, you two used to love each other. That's why we were born, right? Jason laughed out loud this time. He couldn't help it. Despite being the same age, the triplets were surprisingly mature. Their comments left Shayna embarrassed, but also smiling. She could only shake her head. As they arrived in the city, Jason was deep in thought, wondering where to take his family. Once they parked at the mall, they headed straight to the shoe section. Jason wanted to buy new shoes for himself and for the triplets. Of course, he wasn't going to leave Shayna out either. After shopping, they made their way to an amusement park, this time not just a carnival, but a real theme park. Shayna had agreed to come, and now they were all together at Star City. Wow, this place is like a giant carnival, Luke exclaimed. But it's way better. So many rides, so many lights. Let's ride everything, Conrad said excitedly. Then Shayna suddenly turned to Jason with a mischievous grin. Hey, Jason, come ride the Extreme with me. Jason's expression instantly changed. He looked like he regretted agreeing to come. I don't think so. I ate a lot earlier. I don't want my stomach turning, Jason muttered, obviously making excuses. but before he could step away, Shayna grabbed his hand. "Come on, let's ride the one that drops you from the top," she said, buying tickets before Jason could protest. He was already feeling nervous. As they walked toward the ride, he started making the sign of the cross. He hated heights. The triplets stayed behind, watching and clapping as their parents lined up. "Go, Mommy! Go, Daddy!" they cheered. Because of their age, the kids weren't allowed on the more extreme rides, so they sat this one out to watch from a distance. "We can do this," Shayna said, laughing at Jason's terrified expression. "Why do you look like that? Don't worry. After this, you'll feel like you can conquer the world." Jason couldn't say a word. They were up next. Without realizing it, they were still holding hands as they took their seats. Once the ride started, the screaming began. The boys cheered and clapped from the sidelines. "They're definitely getting back together after this," Luke declared. "Don't get your hopes up," Conrad replied. "Just because they rode a ride doesn't mean they're a couple again." "Let's just pray they do," Liam added, hopefully. When the ride ended, Shayna was laughing uncontrollably, while Jason looked like he was about to throw up. "This is your fault," Jason said, glaring at her like a child. "My fault? I just wanted you to face your fears," Shayna replied. "The boys told me you got scared during the last ride at the carnival, so I figured, let's make you face the extreme. That way, other rides won't scare you anymore, just like before, when you were scared of commitment." They were talking alone now. The triplets had run off to buy ice cream. "I'm really sorry, Shayna," Jason said quietly, "for what I did before. I wasn't ready back then. We were too young and I got overwhelmed." "You really hurt me," Shayna said, her tone softening. "Do you know that?" Jason nodded. "I was stupid, and I did love you back then. I still do." "Then why did you leave?" she asked directly. "I thought I had too much on my plate. School, family problems, our relationship. It all piled up. I felt like something had to give." "So I was the one you chose to sacrifice," Shayna replied, eyes narrowing. "It wasn't like that. I came back to apologize, but then I saw you with another guy, at a Starbucks. You looked happy." Shayna frowned. "Another guy? Oh, that must have been when we had group study. That guy wasn't anyone special. He was just a classmate. The others were out getting food." Jason shook his head. "I should have asked. I should have approached you. I got jealous and assumed the worst." He took her hand. "I'm sorry I was a coward. I was so scared you had moved on and replaced me, and I was scared of being hurt again." "It's been years, Jason," Shayna said. "I've moved on from the pain, but I'm still thankful because I got 3 incredible sons out of it. They're my angels." She pointed toward the triplets, who were laughing and chasing each other. "Thank you, Shayna. I hope you'll give me one more chance," Jason said, voice full of hope. Before she could respond, the boys returned. The rest of the day was filled with joy, excitement, and laughter, a blend of new beginnings and hopeful emotions. The day ended with a mix of excitement, giddiness, and countless emotions. Shayna felt genuine joy watching the triplets laugh so freely. It had been so long since she'd seen them this happy, and a big part of that was Jason being with them. One day, Jason decided it was finally time to visit Susie and ask for forgiveness. He wanted proper closure. It was the only way he could truly move forward. He stood across the street from her house, waiting, watching. Soon enough, the front door opened, and to his surprise, Susie came out, with 2 children. Jason's brows furrowed. If they were nieces or nephews, that was odd. She was an only child, and none of her cousins had kids either. A few moments later, a man followed them out. He wrapped his arm around Susie and kissed her on the lips. Jason's jaw clenched, his face darkened. That was fast. So all along, she had been with someone else, and she had children? Were they hers? Had she lied to him the entire time, even during their engagement? Jason could barely move. His fists tightened at his sides. Was this what his mother had meant? That the triplets had saved him from a future full of pain? He quickly called his mother. "Where are you, Mom?" he asked, his voice strained. "I just got home from the city," Divine answered. "I'm outside Susie's house. I saw her with 2 kids, and a man. Is this what you meant before?" "I'm sorry, son," Divine said, her voice trembling. "I didn't tell you because I didn't want to be the one who ruined your happiness. But I tried. I really did." Jason closed his eyes, struggling to breathe. "I've known since you were planning the wedding," Divine continued. "I saw them once at the mall. She was with those kids and that man. I investigated. They've been together for a long time. Those children are hers. She lied to you." Jason didn't say a word. He slammed his fist onto the steering wheel. He felt betrayed, not because he loved Susie, but because she had never been honest. They had been close friends before anything romantic happened, and she still didn't tell him the truth. "I don't deserve this," he muttered. "Of course not," Divine replied gently. "Come home. Your kids are here. Focus on them. Focus on your future." Jason didn't go straight home. He needed space to think. He had been betrayed by someone he trusted, but surprisingly, he wasn't as devastated as he thought he'd be. Somewhere in his heart, he realized that Shayna had never really left it. Jason didn't go home right away. He needed time to clear his head. Yes, he was hurt, betrayed by someone he thought was his closest friend, but the pain wasn't rooted in love. It came from being misled, and more than anything, it made him realize something he had been denying all along. Shayna was the one he had truly loved. Meanwhile, Shayna had decided to unwind that evening. The house was quiet. Her triplets had gone to visit their grandparents, and she saw no reason to tag along. She was trying hard to suppress any feelings she might still have for Jason, but it wasn't easy. Every day, he proved himself more and more. He had matured, he was present, he was trying, and truth be told, that made him even more appealing. She asked Lorna if she wanted to go out with her, but the housekeeper politely declined, saying she didn't enjoy going out, so Shayna went alone. She headed to a bar, planning to have a drink and maybe clear her mind. An hour later, she parked her car beside the bar, stepped inside, and immediately noticed something strange. Loud music, a light crowd, and a man hunched over at the counter, drinking non-stop. Even with his back turned, she recognized him immediately. It was Jason. He was drinking like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. "Hey you," she said, approaching him and touching his shoulder. "Broken-hearted again?" Jason turned to her slowly, eyes glassy from alcohol. "What are you doing here? Were you following me?" he asked. Shayna rolled her eyes. "Why would I follow you? You're not that important," she replied, though her tone was more amused than annoyed. Jason stared into his drink. "Yeah, I guess that fits. I'm just a worthless man who once hurt you. Maybe I deserve everything that's happening to me now." "What happened? Was it more than just the ruined engagement party?" Shayna asked, softening her tone. "Forget it. You're not interested," Jason muttered, then reached for her hand where it rested on the bar counter. "You don't know that," Shayna replied, giving him a small smile. "Try me. I'll listen." Jason looked up surprised. "So, you're not mad at me anymore?" "Not really," Shayna said sincerely. "You've been making up for lost time. That's enough reason for me to let go of my anger." Jason gave a bitter laugh. "So now I'm the one who's hurting. You got your revenge. You're being a good father now," Shayna said. "And that's all that matters. I've seen how you are with them. I have no reason to hold on to the past." Jason gave her a long, quiet hug, one she didn't immediately pull away from. "Everything will be okay, Jason. Shayna said gently, running her hand over his back. Whatever you're going through, it'll pass with time. Jason didn't reply right away. He just leaned into the comfort of her presence. It's not just the engagement, he finally said. Susie, she lied to me. She has kids. She's been with someone else this whole time, even before we got engaged. Shayna's heart sank. She had a partner and 2 children. All this time, she pretended we had a future together. That's terrible, Shayna said, but I'm glad you found out now. I wanted to fight for her once, Jason whispered, but she wasn't worth it. She wasn't honest. I nearly gave up everything for a lie. Come on, let's get you out of here, Shayna said. You've had enough for tonight. She stood, helped him to his feet, and guided him to her car. As she settled him into the passenger seat and walked around to get in, she glanced back at the bar. Jason had just taken another step away from his past, and she had taken a step closer to forgiving him. Jason was drunk. Shayna could see it clearly as she helped him into the front seat of her car. She took a moment to scan the parking lot for his vehicle, then signaled to the bouncer that she'd be back for it later. After a long drive, they finally arrived at Jason's parents' house. Shayna got out of the car first, then walked around to help him out. They stood together at the gate, her arm wrapped around his waist to support him as he swayed slightly. She pressed the doorbell. Moments later, the gate opened and Lindsay appeared, smiling when she saw them. He's drunk. I just brought him home, Shayna explained. Come inside. The kids are here too, Lindsay said with a grin. Shayna hesitated, surprised Lindsay recognized her. She must have heard all about her from the triplets. Help me get him inside, Shayna said, struggling with Jason's weight. Lindsay rushed to her side, and together they helped Jason into the house. Shayna felt self-conscious as Jason's parents stared at her intently. Did you two go on a date, Mommy? Conrad teased, grinning as he watched them enter. The boy had no filter. Shayna glanced at Jason's parents again. Their smiles grew wider. They laid Jason down on the sofa. He was heavy and difficult to manage. Shayna was exhausted from supporting his weight. You know, I really like you, Divine said, beaming at Shayna. Good evening, dear. We're happy to finally meet you. Shayna stepped forward, bowed respectfully and greeted them. Good evening. It's nice to meet you. She then turned to Lindsay and Miles, who introduced themselves properly. We've actually known you for a while, Divine said. Thanks to all the stories the boys told us. Thank you for giving us 3 intelligent, sweet, and well-mannered grandsons. It's nothing, Shayna replied, a little flustered. Come visit more often, okay? We like you for our son, Dennis said with a smile. I'll come by when I'm not busy with work, Shayna replied shyly. They all sat down to chat for a while. As the night grew deeper, Jason's parents insisted that Shayna and the triplets stay over. The kids agreed and headed upstairs with Lindsay, who lent them some clothes. She also volunteered to handle their bedtime routine. Shayna was left alone in the living room with Jason, who was still passed out on the sofa. She knew exactly where his room was, so she stood up and approached him, trying to lift him into a sitting position. Let's go upstairs, she whispered, tugging at his arm. Step by step, she helped him up the staircase, but just before they reached the top, Jason stumbled, sending them both tumbling. Shayna landed beneath him, wide-eyed as she realized how close they were. Jason looked like he was about to vomit. Ugh, don't throw up on me, she muttered, pushing him off with all her strength. Jason flopped onto the floor, groaning. Shayna stood up quickly, realizing he was going to be sick. She ran downstairs to grab a mop, a bucket, a dipper, and a towel. When she returned, she found the mess on the floor. She cleaned up, muttering under her breath, wondering why she ever helped him in the first place. She put on a face mask from Jason's drawer to help with the smell. Once the mess was cleaned up, she helped Jason out of his clothes, and wiped him down with a towel. She tried not to look at his abs or his well-toned body. She failed. Just as she was drying him off, he suddenly grabbed her wrist and pulled her toward him. She landed on top of him, and then he kissed her. At first, she resisted, but eventually their lips moved in sync, slowly, then with more passion, with more feeling. The next morning, Shayna woke up early. She wasn't in her own house, so she couldn't allow herself to stay in bed for too long. She stepped into the kitchen without worrying about what others might think, though she was still sulking about what had happened the night before. "Why did I let him kiss me?" she thought, frustrated. "What if he remembers everything? What then?" She was chopping vegetables for a fish stew when she suddenly felt arms wrap around her from behind. Startled, she moved away, but Jason gently stopped her. "What are you doing, Jason?" she asked, goosebumps rising as he started to kiss her neck. But instead of pulling away, she found herself pausing. She liked it. She hated that she liked it. "Isn't it obvious? I'm hugging you," Jason answered. "You were drunk last night. That kiss meant nothing. We're in the present, not the past. We're not together," she muttered. "I know, but you're single, right? I'm single too. We have kids together, and all we did was kiss. Just go with it. Let's stop pressuring ourselves to look for someone else," Jason whispered near her ear, making her shiver. "Stop that. It's too warm already," Shayna scolded, though her smile betrayed her embarrassment. Jason grinned behind her. "There's an air conditioner in here, Shayna. It's not warm, or maybe you're just not used to being this close to me again. Are you nervous because your feelings are coming back?" "Wow, you've got some nerve," Shayna snapped, slipping out of his embrace. Jason moved to the table, resting his elbows on it and watching her. "I thought you forgave me. Why do you keep bringing up the kiss?" Shayna didn't answer. His gaze felt like it pierced her soul. She didn't want to give in. Not again. Not if he'd just leave all over again. She focused on cooking instead, needing something to distract her. It was Saturday, so the kids didn't have school. Meanwhile, Jason sat in his car later that day, grinning like a fool while they drove with the entire family. He had no appointments, no obligations. He was free to spend the day with them. But just as they were enjoying their outing, Shayna suddenly clutched her head. She had a terrible headache. Without saying anything, she left her building and walked outside, intending to go home and rest. To her surprise, Jason's car pulled up right in front of her. The passenger door opened and he took her hand, guiding her into the seat gently. "You okay?" he asked, concern written all over his face. "My head hurts so bad," she said softly. "Lean back, I'll buy you medicine," Jason replied, then began to drive. Shayna closed her eyes. She hadn't even realized they'd stopped until Jason handed her some medicine and a packed lunch. "Here, eat first before taking this," he said. She did. As she chewed, Jason placed both his hands on her forehead and began to massage her temples. Shayna swallowed hard, realizing how close their faces had become. She couldn't deny it anymore. He was trying, really trying. She was starting to believe him. "You're here again," Shayna said as they sat quietly inside her house. "Aren't you tired of coming back?" "I'll never get tired, Shayna. Let me stay, no matter how long it takes. I'll wait, because I love you. I love our kids," Jason said firmly. Back inside Shayna's home, she was trying to maintain her distance. "Stop courting me," she said. "Stop coming here again and again." Jason blinked, confused. "Wait, what do you mean?" Shayna's face hardened. "I said stop trying, because yes, I'm saying yes, we're officially back together." Jason's eyes widened. He couldn't believe it. Then suddenly, she took off one of her high heels and lightly hit him on the head. "You've kissed me so many times already. You deserve this," she scolded. Jason cheered in triumph and jumped up with joy. The triplets came running downstairs and saw their dad celebrating. They all hugged, one big family hug, their hearts racing with happiness. Finally, everything felt complete. Time passed quickly. They were back at the amusement park. Jason wanted to conquer his fear of heights, to ride the Ferris wheel this time, despite still being afraid. He wanted to experience what it felt like to be at the top, with Shayna beside him. When the ride was cleared, Jason bought 2 tickets. He invited the kids, but they declined. Instead, he gave them money to buy ice cream. As Jason and Shayna boarded the ride, she noticed the triplets giving them a thumbs up. Jason returned the gesture. It felt like they were all in on something she didn't know. Once the Ferris wheel started moving, Shayna straightened up in her seat and closed her eyes tightly. As they rose higher and higher, she grabbed onto Jason in fear. He wrapped his arms around her, calming her a little. Eventually, she let go and glanced downward. Then she turned to face him and gasped. Jason was down on one knee inside the gondola, holding a ring. "Will you marry me, Shayna?" "I believe it's about time," he said loudly, raising his voice over the noisy creaks of the ride and the shouts from the crowd. Shayna was shocked. She hadn't expected this, but she remembered everything he'd done. How hard he tried, how much he changed. "Yes, I will marry you," she whispered, overwhelmed. Jason stood, slipped the ring onto her finger, and pulled her into a tight embrace. "Thank you, Shayna," he said. "There are too many things I'm thankful for, but most of all, thank you for our 3 brilliant, lovable, mischievous boys. I promise, no more goodbyes. I'll stay with you till the end. I love you so much." "I love you too, Jason," Shayna replied. As the Ferris wheel brought them back down, they stepped off as a couple engaged once again. They didn't waste any more time. They were older now, ready. In just 2 months, they had prepared everything for a simple, intimate wedding, attended only by close friends and family. And not long after their marriage, they were blessed with another child. Now they could truly say they were one big, happy family, with God at the center of everything. And that's where the love story of Jason and Shayna and their little ones ends. Thank you very much for reading. Shout out to you all. This was Mr. Hope, and I'll see you very soon, my dear nation.